One question that comes up, and I'm going to address it again just so you hear me clearly, is do I have to follow this in the exact order? The answer is obviously you don't when you know the rules. You now know the rules. I've given you a framework that you can use over and over and over and over again, no matter what kind of presentation that you have. But you can choose what you want. It's your choice. And then that's perfect. That's perfect. The other question is, how long should my introduction be? I sometimes get at this point. And the question, it just depends on how long your presentation is. If you've got a 30-minute presentation, Rob, like you said, your intro should not be 5 minutes. It should just be a couple minutes, right? Maybe a couple minutes. But that's so important that you can't waste it. You've got to do a good intro. If you've got a day-long training, I used to do about a 20-minute intro with icebreakers and everything. And that whole SSOFA system with coaching and the 3 parts, that was weaved into a 15, 20-minute intro that did icebreakers, groups exercise to get them ready in a learning mindset. So it just depends on the length of your presentation. I learned that you got to be brutal with your content. That's the one thing when I was a stand-up comedian. So all this stuff, we just spent almost 90 minutes talking about 2 minutes. You're like, shoot, geez Louise. But it's so important. It's so important. And I'd love to hear from you all. What's one thing that you picked up today? Like, what's one thing that you learned, or maybe you relearned, that you're planning on specifically applying to your next presentation?
I can go first, even if we don't have the interaction right now, but I remembered lots of stuff you were teaching it back in Tableau. It's also the things like putting the feeling into it, it's like what's the audience should be feeling. I definitely missed this a lot, and also having the same structure at the end. I remember at Tableau, everyone was trained very well on this, but then you move along with, with the organizations, everything. And I think I definitely missed that one. So this definitely helps me getting the structuring back from the intro, but also for the closing.
Love it.
And yeah. Thank you so much for this.
You bet. You bet. Thank you. Taylor, Rob?
Yeah, I'll echo what Christian said as well, bringing the feeling into it, as well as a story, weaving in the story,
Love
making it, relatable and closing that loop.
Do you have a story that comes to mind that you would set up for this presentation coming up?
Oh, I was just like thinking about that. Like, what would I?
And you don't have to. This is where I don't worry about the story until I figured out what the problem is that I'm trying to solve and what I want them to learn. Eventually, a story, that stand-up comedy story, did not come first. I literally figured out what I want to talk about, what's my goal. I even worked on the slide deck, and I was like, oh, this reminds me of stand-up comedy. Boom, and then I threw it. And I've used that story several times now because I think it's a great setup. It's also an introduction to me. It makes me a little more likable. Like, oh, he did stand-up? Oh, look at that guy. Oh, he's not that funny. Oh, but he did stand-up, whatever. I'm establishing some credibility and then like personal likability. So sometimes a personal story could be useful. When we talk about storytelling, I have trainings on storytelling. I talk about 5 archetypes of a different story, but don't stress if you don't have it yet. I promise you, if you just tell yourself, what could be my story that would solve this problem, that addresses, that relates to the problem? Is there anything I did personally, or is there a story from a customer or a rep early on that we've solved the problem that I could share that's going to be, it's got to tie to the problem to solve. Otherwise, don't tell it. But don't stress about not having it, Taylor. Yet.
Yeah, it will come.
And if it doesn't come, that's totally fine. You could just jump into the problem to solve. Don't worry about it.